Hey everyone, and welcome to Exclusivity Live 2020. This is the Fireside Chat series. My name is Dan Kalmar, and today I'm joined by Shelby Major, Advocate Marketing Manager at Cisco. Shelby, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
So today, Shelby and I are going to be talking about inspiring continuous learning through advocacy. So Shelby, everybody who's going to be watching this knows what Cisco is. I don't think we have to describe to anybody what Cisco is, but you work on the Cisco certifications side of things. So your program is called Cisco Cert Insiders. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about, I guess, first, what Cisco certifications are, and then we can get into Cisco Cert Insiders and this community kind of built around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cisco, is a big IT telecommunications leader. And with that being said, we host certifications for IT networkers. We have developers, we have certifications for developers, and they go from the very basic level, like entry level, people who just want to change career and they're really new at it. Our CCNA and DevNet Associate exams are very basic level. And then it goes all the way up to very expertise and focused certifications, our CCIE. Our program specifically, the Cisco Cert Insiders, is a great program because it takes those CCNAs, the very basic entry level, and kind of moves them through the flow of the certifications up to the next level, which is CCNP or the DevNet Professional. So it's a really great opportunity because you get to see careers of people kind of develop and really watch their learning journey.
Yeah, I would imagine it's very personally satisfying for you to see kind of, people moving up and people probably getting promotions and getting new jobs because
Absolutely.
of this.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool because they just, they want to celebrate, and these customers are really, really involved and active in the communities, and they want to celebrate when something like that happens. So we get to see it, which is great.
Yeah. And how does this fit in with Cisco's overall ecosystem? Because Cisco, they also use Exclusivity. They have their gateway community, which is their kind of core customer community. How do you view certifications and moving people along in this process as fitting within this overall Cisco ecosystem?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Cisco is obviously divided into several big organizations, and our organization specifically is under customer experience. And so those certifications, they're really focused around the customer lifecycle journey and getting those customers through it. So they're dealing with not only Cisco certifications, but they're dealing with Cisco products. They're most likely dealing with Cisco, other employees on a daily basis, whether it's helping them through those products or just getting ideas. And really learning from Cisco. We have the Cisco Learning Network, which is really a place for people to access content and keep learning. So in addition to the Cisco Cert Insiders, we fall in a small area with Cisco certifications, but these customers touch Cisco in many different places on a daily basis.
Yeah. And so if I'm somebody who's doing a certification, right? Like it makes sense why, people do these certifications. It helps them, land better jobs, get promotions faster. But why be part of this community, right? Like what's the value of being in this space with other people who are also doing the certifications?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our customers, regardless of how they get to the certification, they are ending at one goal, right? That Cisco certification. It's kind of like an industry standard, and it sets an expectation for their employers that they really know their content, they know exactly what they're doing. It really helps them in their careers, right? So it really puts confidence behind their careers. But they want to be a part of, whether it's a user, what is the word? Instructor-led trainings, whether it's like instructor paid trainings, or it is just kind of going at their own pace with like a Cisco Pressbook or the free content that we really push out there all the time, or learning from their peers. That's a big part of this community, is they can go to almost any platform that we have and be like, hey, I have a question, I'm studying and I really don't get this. Is there anyone I can, who can help me? Because the chances are, yes, there's plenty of people. There's people who work for Cisco and there's peers. And so not only are they just getting a certification, they're really getting a community that rallies behind them.
And I think it's so amazing because I think a lot of people who are going to be watching this, they've gone through college, university, and they had those experiences when they were, in classrooms with people, but you don't often get that a lot with continuing education, right? Like it's kind of like, you're on your own. So I think it's amazing to be part of this community with other like-minded people who are facing the same challenges as you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a good point because I even in college and university, both, like you had the people in your classes, you had your teachers, and they were right there and they were very accessible. And then you kind of leave and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I could be doing this completely wrong. I have no idea. But yeah, this definitely creates a safe place and a community for those customers to ask those questions and celebrate their successes. Like, yeah, it's great. I tell my boss, like, hey, I got a certification. And they're like, great. Like, you may get a pay bump. You might get a job promotion. Like, that's awesome. But who else are you celebrating with? Like, your family probably, but you also have this community who's like, that's amazing. I'm working towards the exact same thing. I can't wait to be where you are. So it's really exciting to see that.
And tell me a little bit about your process for getting people into this program to begin with, right? I mean, there's people across industries, across the world who are doing these certifications. What's your process for presenting this opportunity to them to join this community? Like, how does that initial funnel work?
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. We're pretty unique in the way that we invite customers into our community. They have to be certified with that basic level certification, the CCNA or the DevNet Associate. They have to be opted into our marketing efforts, and it is about 6 weeks after they become certified. So we pull a list from our database and we send them the opportunity and invite them. So it's an invite-only community, and that really helps us. So brand with our certifications is very important. We don't want people just being like, yeah, I'm working towards it. We want them to have that certification and really push towards the next level. And so it is an invite-only community, but it gives us an opportunity to provide them with some swag for the CCNA or provide them with an exam, a free voucher for the CCNP level, and really allows us to be specific with what we offer and what we can offer.
Do you feel like that exclusivity also kind of helps with the allure of it a little bit, that it's not just, hey, anybody can walk in this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny because as we've gotten bigger over the years, we have customers that are like, Cisco Cert Insiders, like, this is a really great thing. And people are like, what is that? And then they tell them, and they're like, I want to be a part of that. And we have some customers who are like, hey, I have a friend, he's CCNA certified, but he's not in the hub. Is there any way I can get him in? And I'm like, of course. And once we're able to validate that they are CCNA certified, we are happy to have them in there. And so, it's not really a referral process, but definitely open to just making sure everyone is able to get in there if they are able to.
Yeah. And you mentioned how your goal is, taking those people kind of along their journey. You're definitely a unique use case versus a lot of other Influitive customers where, it's about still creating this engagement, but it's, ultimately to sell products and things like that. What does your nurturing process look like once people are in your community?
Yeah, so we really focus on figuring out what target and what topic people are studying for. So within the CCNP level, which is that second level we try and get customers to, we have a couple different topics, like 10 or so. And we really try to cater our content to those really not necessarily popular topics, but the ones that we find our customers are studying for the most. So for example, we have the CCNP security, and if someone is like, hey, I'm really interested in this, is there any content that you can find? I'm like, heck yeah, let me try and find it, and I will get it to you as soon as possible. But on top of that, we have campaigns focus around a different topic, once a month or so. And so that way, even if someone is not studying for it at the moment, it's there for them later on if they do decide to come back and start studying for that topic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And are you sort of like looking into their certifications kind of like outside of Exclusive to understand like the different topics and then like targeting based on that, or how does that kind of work in the background?
No, not necessarily. I keep it open to everyone just in case someone doesn't want that topic later on in the future. But what I also do is I have them report when they take exams, and I have the ability to make sure, like, go in and check when they did take an exam. And then we celebrate that. So we celebrate them passing an exam or getting a certification, especially if it's that next step, the CCNP, regardless of the topic. But it's really a way for us to go in and, celebrate that they took the exam. Right now we have online testing, which is a really big deal. So a lot of our customers are experiencing online testing for the first time. And so we get to celebrate that, and we get to celebrate, the journey. What we've done is working, and it's getting there and getting them where they need to be.
And when people do move to those different stages, they complete different tests. You mentioned kind of celebrating that. Can you dive into a little bit like what that actually looks like? And maybe also even describe it for people who maybe aren't super familiar with Influitive, maybe they haven't used Influitive before, like what that would look like?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because there's a couple different things that we do when we're celebrating them in that moment. So one, they fill out a challenge. We go in and we approve it on our side to make sure, they took the exam. This is exactly what they said they did. This was the date they took it on, just to kind of a little extra step of validation. And then after that, they get a big number of points, because taking an exam is a very significant milestone. And so we give them lots of points, but on top of that, we go ahead and open up rewards. So for example, if they're CCNA certified and they verified it, we have all of these CCNA rewards for them. We have a pin, we have a hat, we have a mug, like really, so they can bring this stuff to work and show it off. They are very passionate about that, which I love. And so they get that when they verify their CCNA. Say they take a CCNP exam and they get that CCNP. Then we have that next level. We have a t-shirt, we have a notebook, we have rewards that they can redeem specific to the CCNP, which is like, oh, I get this on top of getting my CCNP. How cool is that?
I love that, because it's also such a great way for people to kind of, I don't know, humble brag at the office about what they've done, right? Instead of it just being a Cisco shirt, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure they'd love a Cisco shirt, but for them to kind of show off to their colleagues, and I guess that's kind of a good word of mouth, which is the whole point of swag, right?
Yeah, exactly. And these customers work so hard and for so long studying for these exams. Just the smallest, swag is really important to them, and they get to show it off and be like, this is what I accomplished. Like, they get a badge on LinkedIn, but you can't use that every day, right? You can use a mug every day and really get, rub it in your coworkers' faces and be like, I'm CCNP certified. So it's a really cool thing to see, because we have them send pictures of their swag to us and use that. So.
And then what do you do with those photos? Do you post that back in the community? Do you post it on social?
We post it on social. Most of the time we post it on our Learning at Cisco media channel. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, really showing off those rewards that they've redeemed through the Insiders program. So it's really cool to see.
That's awesome. And you've talked a little bit about, some of the challenges that you create, but I'd love for you to go a bit deeper on what content creation looks like for you, and also just what you've learned, in your time doing this, right? Around like what stuff works with your audience, what doesn't work, things you've tried where you're like, I probably wouldn't do that again. Can you unpack that content creation process a little bit?
Yeah, so the content creation process is actually something that I've worked on this platform for about 2 years now, and it's been a challenge for me, because I am the only one on the program, but at the same time, I am able to pull my content from other Cisco sources. So I thankfully am not creating it all myself, but the creativity behind it is something that I've really had to learn. And so when we, for example, host a campaign for the Learning at Cisco marketing team, right now we're doing a giveaway for one of our new upcoming certifications. So when that is the case, thankfully, the graphics are made for me, the copy is at least written out, and there's ways to tweak that I go in and tweak it for our audience. And that has been great. But I have I've had to pull from different areas. So it's a lot of, you know, what can I get from the Cisco.com? What can I get from the Cisco Learning Network? Who can I connect with to provide the materials that I need? And so that has been a learning curve on this platform for me. It's really been exciting to see what works and what doesn't work, as you were saying. So, for example, they love quizzes and being quizzed on the content, and you know, if their learning is paying off, they get to see that. So one thing that we've brought to the hub is quizzes for each of the topics. Our hub is broken down into the certification topics, and so we've been able to target those in each channel with some quizzes and some at-a-glance white papers, just a lot of content pulled from all over into one central resource, which I think is the best way to describe our hub.
Any content that surprised you that hasn't worked? Like any avenues that you've explored where you're like, I probably wouldn't do that again?
Yeah, I think sometimes the heavily like white papers are very long and can get kind of boring. And some people love that, don't get me wrong, but they don't necessarily perform as well in our hub. Some things that really perform well are obviously giveaways. Whenever Cisco or Learning at Cisco is running a giveaway, people love to share them. We have given the opportunity to share it, and they love sharing those. So we get some really great feedback on those specifically.
What kind of giveaways are they? Like what's being given away?
Yeah, so exams for example, the one that we're running right now for Cyber Ops Associate, it's a new certification, or it's kind of like revamped, and we're giving away a training set and an exam, and I think it's instructor-led training, so it's a big deal. It's an expensive training, and so they get to, you know, throw their hat in the ring and share it with their peers too.
And that's amazing, because all of these exams and stuff, they have monetary value, right? Like they would be paying for these things, right?
And these customers know the monetary value of both the trainings and the exams, and they're like, oh, I definitely want to be a part of that. And that is something I've really tried to bring to the hub as well, as a reward is an exam. Obviously, they're higher in value for our rewards, but they go so quickly when we do put them in there. I have to space them out so they're not used all at once.
And outside of challenges and content that's very specific to, you know, moving people along, what kind of like fun stuff do you do that you feel like is very, you know, certification specific, like for that audience?
We have so two things. One, each September we do something called our social media frenzy. And this is just 1 week in September where every piece of content in this campaign is being shared. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And I mean, there's probably 25, 30 pieces of content. It's a lot, but it's an opportunity to win a ton of points. And so if there's a reward that you've really got your eye on, 1 year we had Cisco Live passes, we had the exams, a free webinar, or like a webinar that they could register for. And so this social media frenzy, the first year that I was here, actually was called Shark Week because it was right after Shark Week. And so we had a campaign designed, and I worked with our graphic designer on this, but it was a guy swimming to shore to get away from the shark safely. So every time you advanced and you did it, he was a little bit closer to shore, or if you didn't, it kind of backed him up. And that was a really fun one, and I think people really loved that. And another one is we do Cybersecurity Month. So in October, it's National Cybersecurity Month. And for some reason, the security content just does really well with our audience, not just with insiders, but with the community as a whole. And so they really like that as well.
So what's next for Cisco Cert Insiders? What's coming down the road that gets you excited?
That's a great question. So we have a few things in the works, actually. One being we are going to be including a whole new set of customers. As I mentioned before, we right now are uploading CCNAs, and those are who we're inviting. But now that we have a DevNet associate level exam as well, or certification as well, we'll be inviting those DevNet associate customers, which is really, really exciting.
Very cool.
And then we also are working on tailoring a hub within our hub. So we have a section of customers called the DevNet 500, and we're the first 500 people to get certified with the DevNet certification when it launched in February. And they're just a group that we're celebrating and really we pushed people to be a part of at the beginning of this certification launch. And so we will be kind of having a hub within the hub with them.
Cool.
So they're not gonna coexist with the insiders, but they'll have rewards and they'll have challenges and be able to really help us out with testimonials and videos, content and stuff like that.
Very cool. So some exciting times ahead for you.
Some exciting times ahead for sure.
So to wrap this up, you've been running this program for a little while now. If you had to give advice for other people, it could be about advocacy in general, but any advice you have for people who are looking to do kind of a similar thing, like they're looking to drive continuous learning, they're looking to help develop careers, any advice you can give to somebody who's just starting off in that journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give someone who's in this position, especially with continuous learning, past college and university and degrees, is really to listen to your customers. I don't think that, I know it's said a lot, but I really want to emphasize that because your customers hold the key to your success, right? Yeah. Your customers really are not afraid to tell you if something is wrong. And at least mine aren't. Mine will definitely tell you if something may not be right. But I didn't have a ton of experience with advocacy when I first started running this program. And it was still so new that I'm still learning. But listening to my customers has really helped me cater their journey and their learning success.
And how do you listen to those customers? Is it literally like feedback challenges and stuff like that you're running?
Yeah, feedback challenges. They are very open to messaging me. I message them, discussions, kind of reading through what they're working on and what, if they're interacting with their peers, I'll go in and kind of see what they're talking about, what topics they're really interested in, what they're struggling with, and see what I can help provide to get them through that to the next step.
That's amazing. Well, Shelby, this has been terrific. I know I've learned a lot about what you do around, unique ideas for swag, for nurturing people, for content specific to this. So I'm hoping everybody at home enjoyed it as well. But thank you so much, Shelby, and thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.